As Tim knows, and anybody who's been following us for years, I was actually the person who came up with the idea to do the radio room with Vostok-Europe. If you want the one that looks the most like the clock, and we'll get back to what that means in a minute, this is the red and white, okay, with the matte sandblasted stainless steel. Then there is the red and black. So basically you're reversing out what you just saw in an all black look with the black PVD, and then the red on the black. And then there is the blue with the seafoam green, and this has that amazing blue PVD on it that is just, and as one thing I've been learning over the past few years, blue PVD is a very difficult and expensive process to do. Even though we're going to be having all the pricing be the same for this event on all of them, the blue PVD is actually a more expensive timepiece. So those are your three options. And while I'll just stay up here with the blue while I continue to tell the story. So I had this idea of 2011. In fact, I wanted to have it. It was tied to the 2012 was the 100-year anniversary of the Radio Room Act of 1912, which grew out of the Titanic disaster. As you know, Tim, one of the things that contributed to the loss of life, it didn't have anything to do with the accident actually happening, but contributed to the loss of life afterwards, was the difficulty of the radio room operators to get through all the chatter on the radio to get their SOS out. So the Radio Room Act created these radio silence periods. It did a number of other things too. They didn't have a 24-hour rotation in the radio room where they always had somebody at the radio prior to that for ocean-going vessels with passengers. So it added that as a regulation. But it added these radio silence periods. In the beginning, there was only two, one at the top of the hour and one at the bottom of the hour. And then later they added, so there was one at every 15-minute interval. There were 3 minutes of radio silence, but the only thing you can do is emergency flash track. You can only go on and say an SOS, Mayday, whatever terminology you want to use. You can't go on and say, hey, Tim, let's get a beer when we get into port, or, let me tell you about what we've got in the cargo hold or whatever. It's got to be emergency flash traffic. So why did we do this in the Vostok-Europe, and why did we do a radio room? Well, you see the clock over my left shoulder. That is an actual clock made by the Vostok company of Chistopol, Russia, and I like to make it very clear always that Vostok and Vostok-Europe are two completely different companies. Vostok is based in Chistopol, Russia. Vostok-Europe is in Vilnius, Lithuania. While they share part of a name, they are not the same company. However, the movement in this watch is built by the Vostok company. This is a 32-jewel automatic mechanical movement with some really nice decoration on the back, that the guilloche on the rotor with the Vostok-Europe on there and the blued screws. This is actually the only decorated movement that Vostok-Europe uses. And so we insisted with the radio room that it have the original Russian movement in it because we wanted to be tying to the history of the clock. Now, I make no pretense, Vostok-Europe is not the only company in the world to make a radio room watch. There are several different radio room watches out there, but it is, I think that the combination of things that you get, what you get from it being Vostok-Europe, what you get from it being a Vostok movement and so forth. This one, as you know, Tim, the previous radio rooms, I'm just going to kind of switch back and forth here between the different color combinations. The previous radio rooms used a different case. It had the rotating bezel on it. This is the first time that the radio room has been in what is quite obviously the Expedition North Pole case. Anybody who's been collecting Vostok-Europe for many years knows the Expedition North Pole case is probably one of the most easily recognizable because it is one of the few Vostok-Europes that doesn't have the rotating bezel because so many Vostok-Europe watches are dive watches. What I like about us making a decision to move the radio room to the Expedition North Pole case is the fact that because the dial is such a part of the story of this watch, the fact that there is no external bezel, the dial is just a full dial that runs all the way to the edge of the case, all the way to the edge of the bezel. So you really get a big impact of the dial on this watch. I do want to point out that with Talk About Watches and the special that we have that we're doing for the radio rooms for your show, they're going to get the dive case. Now, you're going to see the Maria in here, which we're coming to in a minute. But this is the same case. Normally, the radio room would come in the standard Vostok-Europe packaging. But for this package, we're going to include the really great dive case. And when I say dive case, as you know, with Vostok-Europe, it is a serious dive case.
Yes,
this isn't just the case. This is heavy duty and the plastic is thick. This is a $60 value in and of itself, Tim, that's coming with the watch. And we're going to throw in a NATO strap. It'll either be black or it'll have some matching color combination it'll go with. We're going to throw in a NATO strap. Normally, this watch only comes with one strap. So that's part of the deal that you're going to get. Now, obviously, as we said, to see the pricing, you're going to want to go to talkaboutwatches.com. But in terms of the deal itself, that's what we are adding in as some added value to go with this watch this time. The other thing, as you know, Tim, is the strap on this, because it is the Expedition North Pole, is just phenomenal. This is a multi-layered strap. That color white there in the middle, that is not just color on top of leather. That's an actual different piece of leather. They're actually layered. It does have the double tang buckle on it for extra security. And then the complications that are on this watch are there is a 24-hour subdial here in the top half circle, and then the bottom half circle is the day-night indicator. And I'm going to see if I can do this upside down and backwards. Probably not well. Hold on. It's got a nicely screw-in crown. This is a screw-in crown on this. This is 200-meter water resistant. So this is a true professional grade dive quality watch. And as I move around, you can see how it moves from black to white in the window. So there's your day-night indicator on this watch. So you've got three complications, because anything beyond timekeeping is considered a complication. You've got the date, you've got the 24-hour, and you've got the day-night indicator. So it's a lot of watch for the money. It's a great story. It is one of the few Vostok-Europes anymore that does have the Vostok movement in them. Now, as you know, Vostok-Europe is sourcing movements from all over. They
Sure.
use Seiko, they use Ronda. Because they wanted other things to be what drove the watches. And so they're not, if you want the one that has the true Russian movement, there's only so many options available, and this new Radio Room is one of them. So.
Well, guys, monitoring this, it looks right now like the white background with the red, the one closest to the clock, is probably going to go first. That could change, by the way. Obviously, we're still very early, but at the moment, that's what it seems like. Craig, can you walk us through the three color options again, and we'll take a look at some other things.
Okay. So, again, you've got the black on red with the black PVD. Okay, that is grade A PVD. This is surgical grade stainless steel. Oh, by the way, the watch does have the K1 mineral crystal, and that's a 3.5 millimeter thick crystal on this. So that crystal is as thick as most bracelets are. And the K1 process giving you right in the middle between sapphire and mineral. So you have shatter resistancy and scratch resistancy with the K1 process. So we've got the black and red. We've got my personal favorite, which is the blue and that seafoam green, just because this is just a fantastic color combo. And it's got the sun ray on the blue and that blue PVD that's just gorgeous. And then you've got, again, the one that is the closest to the original clock. You're not going to be able to really see it, but there you go. It's the closest to the original clock, which is the red and white. And I will tell you that the NATO that comes with it is actually orange. And you're going to be like, what? Give me a break. But oddly enough, that orange stripe on the NATO is really close to the light colored red on the lighter section, because the two sections at the top and the bottom, they have a lighter look or a dashed look, and that's actually because in those two time windows you can only use Morse code, and then here in these two you can talk. Just a great story. The Radio Room has become hugely popular, as Tim knows. We've been making this since 2012. I think we're at the 21st execution in colors and so forth with this.
Good for you, man.
People have been collecting them for years now. They love that watch.
Craig, I know we've got to get to some other things. Really quick, just walk us through the price on this, and then we'll look at the Maria.
Well, as I said, Tim, we made it so even though one is plated, one has the blue plating, one has the black plating, one is not plated, we made it where we flattened out the pricing. So there's just one price. It's a special deal for Talk About Watches that includes like I said, it includes the box and it includes the extra strap. So you're getting all that for $349, which is a phenomenal deal. Especially you and I both know the Vostok movements, the real Russian movements are expensive. They cost more than any of the other mechanical movements that Vostok uses. And if you want the real Russian, you want the Russian movement, this is what it costs. But nevertheless, still at $349, that's a really good deal on this, especially with the extras that you're going to be getting with the Talk About Watches deal. I do want to make sure everybody understands that is a limited time. It'll only be at that price right around the time of the show, and then it's going to go back to full price, within 2 or 3 days after the show. So we usually base that on, velocity and so forth. But it's not going to be a long period of time that price will be available. So it doesn't matter whether you get the white and red, whether you get the black and red with the PVD, or if you want to get the blue, which normally would cost more. But we have flattened the prices out, so you don't have to make a decision based on price. You make a decision based on which watch you like, and they're all at $349.